SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
I don't know if I have enough time to let the beat drop. I really hate to come in before it does.
I know. It's tough.
Man. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. That's the way to get going and get things pumping. I like that.
It's a rainy Friday, football week. Got plenty going on. Isn't it Friday? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's Friday, and we are just covered up with things to talk about today. Coming up in a minute, next segment or the segment after that, we're going to turn it over to Lance, and he's got a lot of football stuff to talk about. It's been a minute. We've been through that summer drought of sports information. That's over, buddy.
Oh, goodness. It's, I asked Borky a couple years ago, I'm like, man, how do y'all fill 3 hours of sports in the summer? And he said, Lance, man, it ain't nothing to it. There's plenty of sports to talk about all the time. But I think that I had enough time for about 5 minutes. Richard and I, during the summer, there's just not much. Baseball is slow. Golf's like a weekend sport. You don't really get to do much. You have your racing fans, and obviously they happen all through the summer, but it's just not a lot of compelling conversation until you get to about right now. Baseball starts heating up. Football's cranking up. The weather's getting cooler, and the action's going to get hot.
We had actually football has cranked up, not even counting the jamborees last week, but community colleges hit the field last night.
Yeah, plenty of football to go around. And, this time of year, I love listening to don't tune in and watch every game. You watch about 5 minutes of every game, like the last 5 minutes, maybe 10, because all of the announcers and broadcasters haven't done this in a while. And they're so excited. So if it's a close game at the end, they're always pulling for the team that's 3 or 7 points down. Oh, so-and-so, man, he loves this kind of atmosphere, the fans. And, when his back's against the wall, and then he throws the interception, and you can just hear the dejected, oh, we got to go home, man.
It's time to go.
Overtime. Oh, yeah, we got to go home.
We were having fun.
We're having so much fun doing this, yeah. It is. I love it.
What you talk about, you do that to build drama, you do that to keep interest, but also America in general loves an underdog, always has.
Well, and then you get to the end of the season, and everybody kind of gets to the point of they're like, all right, I need a break. I've been doing this for 15 weeks, no overtime, love a quick 7-3 game. So it's funny as time, because I feel that way as you get later in the season too. You kind of get exhausted, but right now you got plenty of energy. Everybody's excited. And, hey, most teams, unless you played last night or the day before, are undefeated right now.
I would like to say, by the way, just as a spot check, I may have to text you tonight about 5 after midnight and say, still full of energy?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got to be up at about 6 a.m. in here and, do gardening and handyman. Then I'll work football till about 4 or 5. So, yeah, glad we have a Monday off to recover after the first week of this, because it kind of cranks up quick. You look at it and the date's on the schedule, and then it's there. I look down today, this is Friday. I have a show to do tonight. It's high school football. I'm fired up. We've got the company is feeding us nicely. We get Tico's pregame for the high school football scoreboard show. It'll be a lot of fun. So. The excitement is in the air, Dave.
We've got that going on. Of course, a lot of the show today, we're going to be talking to folks and doing some remembrances of 20 years ago today. It was right after 8 a.m. 20 years ago on August 29th. I remember it really well, that Hurricane Katrina made its way inland and through Mississippi and basically messed up the entire state to one extent or another.
It did. It ran roughshod through, at least up to where I'm at. I know others through the Delta were were getting roughness too, because it seemed to follow up 49 as it started going, north. And today being the day it makes landfall, and you think about it, it's 2005. It's a long time ago, it feels like, but it's also those memories and the stories are still so fresh in our mind. And we've been discussing it all week, and the guests we've had on, just the memories, the stories, heart-wrenching and heartwarming at the same time. And, seeing how Mississippians and many pull together for one another in these times. And then you look at the pictures, and it just is unbelievable seeing a casino across the street and just the devastation, the piles of debris that weren't even cleaned up. It was just where the surge and the water came in and pushed everything around. I don't know what you remember being closer to it. I don't know what your experience was, but it was rough around here.
Probably the most plain thing I can say about my experience with Hurricane Katrina, aside from going on the air at 6 a.m. and getting off about 8 every night for 2.5 weeks, it took, I think it was 2 days past 3 weeks before I had lights back on at my house.
I was the same here. It was kind of, I ran an extension cord out to a plug in the truck. I had a little 3-prong plug, and I could plug in 1 or 2 devices. I had to leave the vehicle cranked in the garage, and had the garage cracked so you didn't walk out there and die.
Then you ran into the problem of gas. Because you couldn't just go out and get gas whenever you wanted to. I remember
filling up and running through a tank over it was about a week of just letting it run. I would plug the microwave into it and stuff like that. But you made it. And everybody's lights came back on pretty quick, but on the street I was on, it was a fairly newer street down toward the end, but where I was right at the edge where the newer development had started. And there was a power box there, and for a couple of weeks we didn't have power. And I kept calling. I said, "Hey man, we don't have power." They're like, "We're showing you got power." I was like, "No, we don't have power." And sure enough, a few days later, it was into that third week, they showed up, and I walked out there with them, and the guy jiggled the box, and everybody's lights came back on. It was one of those. They fixed it, but it was I could have gone out there and kicked it or something. But it was a strange time, man. It really was.
I remember quite clearly one of the most impactful things being on the air and taking all the calls and trying to help get people and resources met up, get them together. The people that would call and say, my dad needs his insulin. We can't keep it cold. What can we do? Those kind of stories that just really brought it in. And, lights weren't on at the house. I don't care. There were people that had real, actual problems right here in Southwest Mississippi. I'm talking about what happened down here in Pike County and the surrounding areas, because I talked about this week. We're used to storms coming through here. Year before last, we had that wet firecracker come through. I can't remember what name it was, but everyone in the media desperately tried to build it up as a huge thing, and it was just a slightly moist day, and that was it. So we kind of thought we knew what was coming, because we had hurricanes. We had plenty of hurricanes come through here before. Katrina managed to do a really good job of educating us that we didn't know squat. We didn't know what was coming until it got here, and then we had to figure out what to do. Our civil defense director, emergency management director in some other counties, same kind of thing, guy by the name of Richard Coughlin, he recently passed away. We recently lost him. He and I had been friends for decades. Really did an outstanding job. All the first responders did an outstanding job. And my view of what happened with Katrina is kind of focused on Southwest Mississippi, because I didn't have the time or the ability to really know what was going on anywhere else. Found out afterwards, went back and read about it.
Yeah, it was hard. That was kind of what made it so strange is you didn't have power. You didn't have the ability to really know what was going on around around the horn, so to speak. It was 2005. Not everybody had the smartphone in their pocket and or access. I remember going down to my office downtown to actually take a hot shower. It was about a week and a half in, and our manager's like, "Hey, you guys, if y'all need to come in down here," and we had a executive little bathroom thing and come in and, get a good shave in. I'm like, man, I don't even shave anyway. But no, I'll take a shower. Yeah. I'm not shaving. No, what are you talking about?
Well, as you can tell, shaving was not top on my priority list either.
You started growing that beard in 05, huh?
I actually started growing this beard in 85.
85, man.
Oh, yeah. This beard may be older than you at this point. It's been around for a minute. It was an interesting time. I very much hope I can accurately describe it as a unique experience for the state of Mississippi, because we really don't want to see anything like that again. But we're going to talk about it. Our old buddy, the turkey exploder himself, Mike Chaney's coming in next hour. Author Melody Golding, Brad White with MDOT, all of them with stories to tell from 20 years ago on the anniversary of Katrina coming in and messing a bunch of stuff up. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Got other news to talk about as well. Israel, by the way, has started their initial stages of attack on Gaza City this morning. They've declared it a combat zone. So that's progressing in that direction. We'll continue talking about all this. We'll get into some sports in just a moment. Here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
She lets me use the car.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk Mississippi.
Standing on a corner, looking for you, babe. Standing on a corner, looking for you, babe.
Welcome back. Very appropriate we got the blues playing, because before we get to anything else, let's take a little closer look at the weather. Looking at color weather radar, it's a mess.
Oh, man, it's it's all over.
It's basically kind of south of Jackson now. You're still getting a little bit up in the central part of the state. North half of the state's doing great.
It looks
so
great
far today.
Yeah, Oxford is going to be pretty clear, it looks like, around game time, and not a whole lot of worries there. But Hattiesburg, a little testy there.
Well, down here in our neck of the woods, it looks like it's about to get here and start storming. There's a lot more to this front off to the west. And I mean very much off to the west, up in North Louisiana and even stretching over into northern Texas. But this is moving primarily kind of north to south, north to southeast, if you will. Which means we're going to see it here in southwest Mississippi and south Mississippi all the way down to the coast for the rest of the day. All of that to say this, get your umbrella ready. You're going to need it. There are some thunder showers embedded in this line as they're passing through. So kind of got to keep an eye on the weather just to be on the safe side, even though we don't expect anything super severe to pop up today, which is nice on the Katrina anniversary. Let me say that. I know you're out of practice, number one. It's been months since you've had this much sports information to talk about at one time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give you a head start to get through some of the football information, because there's a lot to cover there.
There is. I'll start off and go with the SWAC, because we did have a big game last night for Alcorn State, matchup Northwestern State. They dropped that one, Alcorn did, 20-10. They were on the road, and I don't know if I'm related to this guy or not, but Jalen Tolbert had 182 yards passing, and congratulations to that young man. Great name.
How many Tolberts could there be around here? You're the only one I know.
There was a dictator of Liberia at one time. He didn't last long. He made it for a bit. They got rid of him, though. I don't know, though. You had Tony Tolbert, and then there's been a couple of NFLers, but don't know. There's not the most common name, but saw that on there. And I wanted to, congratulate him for 182 yards passing and a great last name. It will be a full lineup Saturday. You do have a game today between Bethune-Cookman and Florida International. That's not the one we really want to talk about, though. You got two more. Hampton at Jackson State will be 2 o'clock, and that is at Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. And, as far as the rain goes, who knows? It could, as Dave was saying, it's kind of pressing south So it looks like as you get into the later part of the day and into tomorrow, potentially central Mississippi up north will be fairly open and clear, but there is a chance of showers and thunderstorms around 1 to 5 in Hattiesburg tomorrow. So get an early start. It is an early game. It's the 11 o'clock one. So you also have Howard at Florida A&M, Alabama A&M at Arkansas. That's we got a SEC SWAC matchup there, and then Southern at Mississippi Valley State. So Mississippi Valley State will have a 4 o'clock kickoff, and that is at Rice-Totten Stadium in Itta-Bena, Mississippi, and we know where that is. So the forecast in that neck of the woods again is chance of rain. Bring your ponchos. But hopefully you can leave them, in the pocket or in the backpack or something and not have to worry about it. Chance of precipitation around 20% both tonight and tomorrow in that neck of the woods. So that gets us kicked off with the SWAC schedule. We have a big, as far as the lineup goes, the college football lineup is unlimited. You can't cover all those. So we're going to start with some SEC here. Central Arkansas at Missouri last night. That game was like 10-0 for the longest time. Then I looked down and it was 61-6. Missouri took it to them in the second half. It was kind of a slow game, though. You're thinking about, is Missouri going to be any good or not? Well, they showed that they were good in the second half. So today's match.
Didn't they, in that Missouri game, didn't they start out with one of their two competing quarterbacks that were fighting for the actual starting job?
Yes, it was ugly.
Got
there.
Injured.
Yeah, it was ugly there. So, but once again, they found their footing. You always hate to see injuries in that, especially this early in a season after everybody's practiced so hard. But it's the name of the game. Auburn at Baylor, 7 o'clock today. So that is a Fox game. That is also going to be in Waco, Texas. So Auburn travels to Baylor today. That ought to be an interesting matchup. We'll see if Hugh Freeze has found him a quarterback. Baylor's usually pretty competitive and has a solid defense in most cases and likes to sling it around. So maybe a fun and compelling matchup tonight at 7 o'clock. Saturday, though, goodness gracious, how do we even start? Well, let's start with the big game of the day, the Breakfast Bowl, Texas at Ohio State, 11 a.m. Ohio State's a 1.5-point favorite, but Texas number 1 in the country. The reason, they're on the road at the Horseshoe, baby, so that's going to be a tough opening call for young Manning. Although he has played some, this will be a great first start as the named quarterback. I know everybody's excited to watch that one. Syracuse at Tennessee, number 24 Tennessee, 11 o'clock also. And then you have Mississippi State at Southern Miss at 11 o'clock. M.M. Roberts Stadium, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Mississippi State's a 13.5-point favorite, but the over-under 60.5. So it looks like there'll be some scoring going on in there. And
now, I did see that they put out a notice, which was the most unsurprising news I've ever seen, that they're expecting traffic problems and a sellout for that game.
I bet that tickets would be a little higher than $26 if you're trying to get in at game time. So get there a little early. Again, take your umbrella. There will be a chance of showers and thunderstorms between 1 and 5 in Hattiesburg. So, how that works out, I don't think a game lasts 2 hours generally. So you may get caught in that on the way out. So be prepared. Toledo at Kentucky. Ole Miss will travel to Kentucky in week 2. So this will be an interesting matchup to watch if you're an Ole Miss fan. The tickets are not extremely expensive. If you're in Krogerfield, Lexington, Kentucky area, about $18. Marshall at number 5, Georgia. That's $2.30. Alabama at Florida State. A really interesting game there because Alabama travels to Florida State. Alabama's number 8 in the country. That's $2.30. Costs you a couple $100 if you're down there. Alabama A&M and Arkansas, we just mentioned that, $3.15. Got a SWAC and a SEC matchup to start it off. Illinois State at number 18, Oklahoma. That is 5 o'clock. Long Island University. I didn't even know they had a football team. It's kind of like we hadn't done the things of the day, but today was the day that the Canadian astronaut did something. I'm like, there's an astronaut in Canada? I didn't know I think he's the one, but it's kind of
if you ask him about it, I'm sure he'll apologize for it.
Exactly. Oh, I'm sorry very much.
Hold on. Let me just point out
maple syrup and how you doing over there?
I just want to make sure we give full recognition to the fact that this is a historic moment in broadcast. That is very much a contender for the worst Canadian accent in history.
Yes, you got to think in overly nice terminology with maple syrup stuck to your hands and maybe what else is Canadian? Whiskey?
I can't think of
out
much.
and about getting the whiskey.
Oh, no, oot in the boot.
Oot in the boot. That's one of the hardest
boot.
ones to do for me because it just sounds so goofy, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Long Island University, though, at Florida, number 15, 6 o'clock. And UTSA at number 19, Texas A&M. We'll see what the A&Mers got going on this year. It's always fun to see if they ever get over 8 wins. Charleston Southern at Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt's not ranked, but it's a team that is pretty stacked this year. Great quarterback returning and a lot of noise around that program. That's a 6 o'clock game in Nashville. Tickets as low as $10. Whew, that's pretty brutal, though, when you have a big team and $10 tickets. Number 9, LSU at number 4, Clemson. That is going to be a good one. That is at the other Death Valley. There's 2 of them, right? You got the one in Baton Rouge and the one in Clemson. That ticket is $330. So some folks are excited about that ball game. And then we get to the late game in the evening for the SEC. Georgia State at number 21, Ole Miss, 645. Vaught Hemingway getting the door for about $21. Ole Miss 34.5 on the favorite. And then Sunday, you got Virginia Tech at number 13, South Carolina. So full weekend slate. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, if you're over there. That will be a 2 o'clock game. South Carolina favors 7.5. That kind of rounds out the SEC schedule there. There were a lot of games last night, if you were paying attention. None of them were really great, I didn't think. They were fun to have ball on. South Florida pretty much worked Boise State. The first 10 minutes of the game were pretty good ball game, but Boise just got absolutely boat raced in that. Ohio at Rutgers. Rutgers won that one 34-31. And, East Carolina at North Carolina State, 24-17. That was a pretty good game. Also, the one that I was watching was it South Florida or what? I'm trying to find it in here somewhere. But the Wyoming game was 10-0. Think about that. You come out and you're like, yeah, we're going to have a great game, and you get beat 10-0. You're like, oh goodness, we got to get back to the drawing board on this one. And then UAB was victorious, 52-42. Over Alabama State, in-state rival there, and that was a boat race there, man. Goodness gracious.
Well, I want to tell you, there's a lot of teams already. We're really a day away from the full-bore opening day of college football, and already you've got some coaching staffs that are like, okay, we're not as smart as we thought we were. What do we do here?
Well, Nebraska actually won a game, 2017 over Cincinnati, and then Wisconsin scraped by Miami of Ohio 17-0. So those were your kind of compelling matchups, but again, nothing overly exciting out there last night. The big ones are now. They're coming.
We continue to get worked up for football when we come back on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Do the
If anyone heard
Welcome
commentary
back.
for a second, we were laughing in Canadian.
Yeah, we had a moment during the break.
That was good. I love it. Yeah, you can have my pet moose if you want it. And you go, no, that's not the moose. That's my mother-in-law.
That's my mother-in-law. Pet moose is in the back, man. You got me doing a bad Canadian accent
I can't
now.
do it, man. I'm sorry.
And I've got several friends that are Canadians that I've known for decades.
I played baseball.
I still can't do it.
Yeah, they're good folks, man. And hey, the one I was mentioning, Chris Hadfield, 66 years old today, Canadian astronaut. I don't think you could name any other Canadian astronaut, but he was a Canadian Air Force commander and became the first Canadian to walk in space. He also gained a fan base when he posted pictures aboard a space station of the Earth and covered David Bowie's space oddity while he was in space. So never heard of this guy, but apparently he's a kind of a rock star astronaut from Canada. Maybe he ought to run for premier or whatever they call it.
He's getting free maple syrup to this day. Every place he walks in, they got a can waiting for him.
I'll give him a spacesuit if you want it.
No, wait, that's not my spacesuit. That's my sister-in-law. That is.
Hey, Richard Attenborough. Everybody remembers him, right? The Attenborough family.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Sir David. He was the big documentary guy that, they're all royalty. When you think of a full name, though, I just want to mention this one. The English, they have a good way of making things a little longer and verbose than they probably should be. But Richard Samuel Attenborough, Baron Attenborough of Richmond upon Thames. That's his full name. He goes by Dickie, though. So, how do you distinguish when you're dealing with people like that of this upper echelon?
Do you?
I just stay away. I mean, they don't want to hang out with me, but do you say, hey, Sir David or Sir Richard or, any of that? I don't know. I don't know anything about the royalty and title, the titular stuff, but a lot of folks probably remember him. He had a great on-screen presence, and he's one of those that kind of, is iconic, in the early years. And so I just wanted to mention him. Also, Michael Jackson's birthday is today.
The way I usually deal with addressing those kind of people is by saying, hey, move your car, jerk.
Get the car out the way. Well,
I'm trying to get in.
Man, I've never been, as I study history every day, and I really do enjoy research, but one of the areas I put a lot of time is in Europe, especially Eastern Europe. And, you got to remember, folks, that, in the 1900s, you had people still wanting to be kings. Literally, when you think about that, about 100 years ago, there were still people jockeying to be kings and all these little principalities. And you can see why so many people left Europe and came to America because of the political necessities and nastiness. And it was just so unpredictable. Wars all the time. And so as you study, especially Europe, it's just, we talk about royalty, and I just don't get it. I don't get the fascination with it. I just don't. And so to me, I think it's a waste of time, all the royalty and titles. It seems like it doesn't make a lot of sense in the world we live in today. But
I've got 3 words I can throw out that back up your point perfectly. And these 3 words were basically the reason World War I started. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Kind of says it all.
I know that story so well. Just leading up, what was going on in Russia, what's going on in the Balkans, and then you've got the Ottoman Empire is weak, and Russia is trying to keep them propped up so that the Ottomans don't cave in and Europe come take everything, and then Serbia, Bosnia, all these places, and the Romanians. It was everybody's kings. Everybody's a king, and we look today, and you wonder why there's so much going on in these areas and why there's never been too much peace. There never has been. No. These folks, even though they may be intermarried, they don't like each other very much. There's multiple languages, multiple religions, and it is much more complicated. So I always want to say, when it seems simple over there, it is not. It is extremely complex.
And the thing you have to remember, this is not a hidden fact of history. This isn't something no one is aware of. They brag about this. They're proud of this in a way. It's the most inbred group of people on planet Earth.
No, they wouldn't even let children that were not inbred be part of the royal bloodline.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's amazing, but I digress. Hey, today is John McCain's birthday, and it was also the day that he shot himself in the foot for being president and named Sarah Palin, who was looking at Russia while he called her from her front porch. But hey, that's a piece of history there. Also, Netflix was founded by American entrepreneur Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, originally a DVD rental company. They actually were smart enough to slide into the streaming world, whereas Blockbuster, this iconic brand, they sat there with the opportunity. I remember, I was an investor at this time, and we kept saying, man, if they'll just go into streaming, Netflix is showing you how to do it. They were so hard-headed. Whenever you look at a business and you hear somebody say, well, that's just not how we do it, pull your money out.
Yeah.
Don't keep it there.
Yeah. On this planet, if you're set in your ways, you're set for failure. Especially is what you're set for.
The world we live in today. And that was one of those times. You go back 97. Put that into perspective. That was a long time ago.
If I remember correctly, the folks that started Netflix at one point early on, they tried to sell it to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster turned them down.
Yeah, they were like, no, we don't see the future in this online stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what? What are you thinking? You wonder sometimes, what were people thinking? And apparently they were not.
I'll tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking the same thing most people still think to this day, which was, well, I'm right.
Yeah.
I know I'm right.
Yeah, I'm right. We don't do things that way.
You're a crazy person.
This is the way you work, though. If you don't have the technology, but you want it. All right. The Soviet Union, it tested its first atomic bomb, known in the West as Joe 1. It was a direct copy, absolute direct copy of the Fat Man used by the U.S. military on Nagasaki. Now you wonder, the Russians, how did they get that bomb? And if it was an exact copy, well, apparently they didn't have that tech, but they had some pretty good spies and figured out a way to get it and build the bomb.
We didn't touch on it. I got to get to this before we come up to the break because we got lottery afterwards. Got to brag, our studio here in Southwest Mississippi is inside the Workforce Training Center building on the campus of Southwest Mississippi Community College. Opening night last night for our community colleges, the Southwest Bears. We've had several rebuilding years. I'm going to put it like that. Got a brand new coach in, Les George. Last night, went to Goodman and got a 34-6 win over Holmes. It wasn't even close.
That's a beatdown.
That's a good, solid win. They released a video from inside the locker room of all the players jumping up and down and excited and having a great, it's fantastic to see. So I've got to brag on them. That's how you start a new coaching regime, by the way, at a school that has had its struggles for several years. You come in with a solid, inarguable win like that, and now we're off to the races.
Yes.
I like that. So hats off to Les George and congratulations to him. After everything wrapped up last night and he got back home and he was just in his bedroom, closed the door, and finally where no one could see, he went, whew, okay, yes. That's good.
The first one's the big one, isn't it? I mean, after that, it's kind of like, water on a duck's back. He just does its thing. You play the game, and you kind of know what to expect. But that first one, and first of anything, I remember sitting the first day I sat with Paul. I was like about to have a heart attack in here.
Yes.
I was all verklempt, as they say, and just couldn't get it. He'd call on me for something. I'm like, I'm over prepared, and but as you roll as a coach, I've coached a lot. It's the same way. That anxiety up front, man. You just got to get out there and play the game. And congratulations, though. I always love success stories and people with their first big win and first coaching job, and they get out there and they win the game. It's going to get harder. I promise. There are going to be some tough times.
Always does.
Some great times, but that's the way it is. And I love Mississippi community college football. It is packed full of talent. McCaleb Taylor, a kid that we had covered a lot last year from Grenada. He had announced a couple weeks ago he's going to be going to Ole Miss. There's just so many great players that follow. A kid named Gavin Griffin that was over at Velma Jackson, a great running back. You just get to see so many of these kids that have great talent that go into the Mississippi ranks and then continue their careers and go elsewhere. And there's so many great coaches within the junior college ranks here too. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, and a couple of other scores from last night. Hines beat Itawamba 34-7. Number 3 Northwest beat Pearl River 42-17. Jones showed up and left Mississippi Delta with a sad 33-0. Number 9 Colin beat Coahoma 42-3. Northeast beat East Central 24-13. So that's a few of the scores that we had from last night in community college football. Hey, and I wanted to make sure we got those in because
I couldn't find them. Yeah, I couldn't find an update. It's my site, the MACCC, didn't have updates on them yet, so I didn't want to guess. But
I saw
that.
Yeah, I went digging around and I figured out pretty good. We actually didn't talk about it, but I figured out pretty quick. He's having the same trouble I'm having, which is actually finding
sometimes
them.
Those are a little hard. The first week, everybody's figuring it out. But, hey, on this day in history, 1893, thank goodness this happened. Whitcomb L. Judson invented the clasp locker. You know what that's known as today?
What?
The zipper.
Oh, very good. Very good. I don't even own buttonfly jeans or butterfly jeans for that matter, which is an entirely different set of problems, if that's what you got. When we come back, we'll try to solve some problems with a look at what's going on with the Mississippi Lottery. Can you say $1 billion? Someone might be able to pretty quickly. We'll talk about that next on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Oh, yeah, baby. It's time to talk to money. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, with football starting up and everything else happening, traffic might be high when you go to get your lottery tickets because there's a lot of interest in it. And boy, what happened this week certainly didn't hurt that. Of course, I'm talking about the fact that the Powerball, the jackpot for tomorrow night's drawing is now up to $950 million estimated value. The cash value would be an estimated $428.9 million for the lucky Mississippian who wins not only that cash, but the opportunity to be my new best friend. The thing that I think really puts it over the top is something you and I have talked about for a while, Lance. We talk about these big jackpots, $950 million. I could do all kinds of damage with that kind of money. It's right at $1 billion. But you don't have to win the big jackpot to be a big winner.
No,
you don't.
You don't. Well, and also, I mean, we're in cold water. That person's got to put the Steve Azar song on, Cold Water, one of the best.
Yes.
Cedric Burnside and Steve, you got to be playing that as you go to the bank, man.
Cold Water, somebody matched all 5 of the white balls. They didn't get the Powerball, but they did have the power play option. So if you match all 5 white balls, you get $1 million. They had the power play, so it took it to $2 million that they won. We had somebody on Mega Millions.
What was that? That $1 got you up to $2 million from $1 million. That's a pretty good investment. I'll take that all day long.
Took your $1 million and doubled it for $1. You're not going to find a deal like that anywhere. Mega Millions. We had someone back on Tuesday, the last drawing for it in Moss Point, matched all 5 white balls, won $1 million. They had an automatic Megaplier on that doubled it to $2 million. So we had two
smart winners.
Different $2 million winners this week in Mississippi. And then on Wednesday, match 5 in New Albany. Matched all 5 numbers, $60,000 in their pocket right there. There are none of those amounts that you're going to turn down.
No.
You know that. So you have to play, though, to have a chance to win. So that's what all the talk is about. Well, we've got a lot of other great things going on. Mega Millions jackpot up to an estimated $277 million for tonight's drawing. Lotto America, $2.45 million, the estimated jackpot there. Match 5 already up to $52,000 right after we had a winner, so that one's back up. You've got Cash 4, Cash 3, Cash Pop every day that gives you a chance to win. And today, if you're more of a scratchy kind of person, if you like scratching the scratch-offs, got 3 new ones launching today, August 29th, $2, a $5, and a $10, and they're all loaded, which is what you're going to be when you scratch it off and you win. The $2 is, as they say on the ticket, loaded with $100 prizes. If I give you $2 and you give me $100, it's been a good day.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking it.
The $5 ones, $500 prizes. The $10 tickets, $2,000 prizes. Those tickets are very colorful. You'll know them immediately. They're out there hitting the shelves and hitting the registers today. So that'll be your chance to go ahead and get in on the front end of the new games from the Mississippi Lottery Corporation. Go out there, get yourself a chance to win. That's the best advice anybody can give you. Once again, $950 million in the Powerball. But you could also win, just a measly pocket change, a measly $1 million or $2 million, as 2 different people did this week in the state of Mississippi. So,
what would you do?
You'd be number 3.
If you hit the big money, what is the first thing you would do?
Immediately destroy my phone and get a new number.
No more
none of you suckers are ever hearing from me again.
You have no friends anymore. You're off. You're gone.
No friends, not a ton of relatives. I'm just gone, like a ninja throwing a smoke bomb.
Yeah. You'll end up
be the end of that.
Somewhere. You'll be walking around with a big bag of cash, getting right with the Lord, huh?
Well, I'm going to get 2 pipe cleaners, and I'm going to weave them into the top edges of my beard and then put them over my ears to where it's obvious, and everybody thinks I'm wearing a fake beard, so it couldn't be me.
Yeah, it's not you're in, incognito.
See, it's next level thinking is what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I'd go with like
what would you do?
I don't know. That's the thing. I've thought about it a lot. I'm expecting someone to donate $1 million soon enough when they win. But, I don't know. Probably, retire, buy a yacht. That kind of stuff. Maybe get on one of those rockets and like rich people do and get to go up to outer space and, just have a big time. I probably wouldn't go on one of those submarine things, though.
No, don't do that.
Probably not.
Don't do that. All your dreams and everything else you've got will be crushed if you do that. So don't do that. You just go up to almost space and come back with your half-wilted daisy and kiss the ground like Katy Perry, and you'll be fine. It'll be no problem. Coming up, we've got news from the fine folks at Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of mornings on this Friday morning. The rain got here, by the way. You may, if it continues to pick up like it has been, you'll be able to hear it in the background here in a moment. Let's get going. Got a lot of good stuff next hour. Stick around.
Your home.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Getting punky.
I love Offspring.
On this Friday morning. Welcome back to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. This hour brought to you by MWG Employer Services. You can call them today for more information about what they can do to help you with a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you and your business. Call them at 601-206-7966, or you can go to MWGEmployerServices.com and find out everything you need to know about how to make your life a lot easier. And honestly, that should be everyone's goal most of the time, is figuring out a way to make your life easier. If you're a business owner, yeah, definitely. And this is one easy way to take care of that. All right, we've got this hour. We're busy. We've got Mike Chaney, the old turkey exploder himself, state insurance commissioner and state fire marshal as well. I call him that because, as you know, every Thanksgiving he takes an outdoor cooker and explodes a turkey out at the fire academy to show how dangerous it is. Going to be talking about Katrina, also with Melody Golding at the bottom of the hour. We'll be talking to her, author, photographer. Got some great stories she can tell from 20 years ago here on the anniversary of Katrina coming in. But we had something cool that happened this week, Lance, right there in the studio. Something kind of unexpected, because we had someone drop in. It's not every day that the United States Secretary of Agriculture just walks through the door, said, hey, I'll talk to you for a minute. But Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith brought her. She was in Mississippi for an event that we'll hear more about. But our very own J.T. Mitchell got to sit down and talk with the Secretary of Agriculture and Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. And let's take a look at that.
Let me try to get this baby working. Hold on just a second here.
We're getting there.
I got to get the sound working somehow.
Yeah, sound's not working for whatever reason.
Probably on me. Let's see. It says it's on.
Hit the other button. I don't know. I can't.
Give
see
me a second. I'll figure this out. You just go on. Hold on. Let me flip that back over.
Yeah, flip that back over. We'll get it figured out. Just let me know when you get that sorted out, and we'll move forward. But that's really cool. And it's a great example of a couple of things. Number one, the job that Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, who's from this area down here in southwest Mississippi, the job that she does for the state of Mississippi, because she brings the top level attention in. Still don't have sound on it, do we?
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. God,
I'm seeing the sound thing bouncing around everywhere. I'm just not seeing sound or hearing.
If you're looking on SuperTalk TV, you can see the image as he's playing with it popping up with Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith sitting on the left and the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, sitting on the right talking with JT, who's in the big chair there.
The audio, I've got it on, everything. I'll try to figure something out. I'm sorry, but it's just definitely not playing audio.
Yeah, that's fine. Mistakes happen. Stuff happens. Problems happen. If there's one thing you learn, I got a story to tell while you're working on that relates to Katrina. I'm mentioning no names of any kind because I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, but not everyone was operating at peak efficiency right when Katrina got through coming through. We had gotten a generator to operate the studio at the station I was at the time. And I'm in there doing stuff in the studio, getting ready, getting everything set to go ahead and try to get on the air as quickly as we could after the storm came through. They're outside, they've run wires and everything, and they've got the generator set up, and sure enough, all of a sudden everything powers up, and then I'm double busy trying to get everything done. And then all of a sudden I hear someone yell my name, and I get up because we're not back on the air yet, and I go around the corner and walk over to the office side, and it is a wall, an impenetrable barrier of smoke. They had set the generator up in the office. Don't do that. This is the short form advice I can give you. And just not thinking, which is understandable. None of us were thinking when that came through. Now, we got the video back. I see we still don't have any audio, do we?
No. Like I said, I'm trying everything I know here. And,
well, hopefully we'll get that worked out.
I'm going to have to call Will.
Hey, Will, it's busted. And at this point, we'll just bump it to later in the show. So stick around, and at some point during the show, we'll get back to that because right now we'd only get about 2 or 3 minutes of it in. So we've got probably an hour, a little bit more than that, because at the top of the hour, next hour, we'll have Brad White, the executive director of MDOT. He's got some stories to tell from 20 years ago as well. But just a lot of stuff happened 20 years ago, and you look back on it and you kind of have to laugh for some of it. For some of it, you just kind of get sad because of some of the things that happened and the way it happened. But I think you put it last hour very well when you said that in those kind of situations, all you can do is just do your best to get through. Do your best to get through the bad stuff and out to the other side where things get better. And I think we did a fantastic job of that in the state of Mississippi. Was it easy? No. Far from it. I never thought 20 years ago, it was inconceivable to me that there would be a situation where we would have people standing in line to get ice.
Yeah.
But we very much had that situation, I know, here and basically the south half of the state. It was that way.
I was fortunate to, my mother was working down there on a catastrophe team during all that. And I was, sitting up in Jackson, it was really not a perspective outside of once you could see television, once you were able to kind of get a grip on how vast this storm was, how big and, monolithic as far as damage and the ground that it covered. But once I got down there and the aftermath to see what had actually happened, it was, I've never seen anything like it, Dave. I mean, the folks that lived through that from the moment of it being announced it was coming and how big it was to backside of that, listening to Ricky and all those that were there, I don't know how they did it. I mean, it sounds like Armageddon. And then when you went to see it in the aftermath, it seemed worse than anything you could have ever imagined. And heartbreaking to see such loss, but also to see, so many people pitching in. So many people were coming from all over the state, all over the country to bring water and razors and diapers and toilet paper. And I think that's, even though you had such a horrible disaster, loss of life, loss of property, the people, showed up. And I think that speaks volumes to what kind of people are here in Mississippi, those that are in the South. Because such a catastrophe, it's almost unimaginable on the scale it was, I don't know how it worked up in the Northeast when they had all those floods and all that. I wasn't there, didn't see it, and don't know anybody. But what I do know about Mississippi is it pulled together, and we're so much stronger, I think, because of today what we had to endure back in 2005.
Well, and that's the thing, because we did have we had our troubles. Lord knows we had our troubles. We had our problems we had to work through. But at the same time, the vast majority of people that I dealt with when it came through, and others who I knew dealt with, the vast majority of people in Mississippi, it's like a switch flipped. It really is. They went from, taking care of their business, being nice, but taking care of their business, to all of a sudden everyone dropped everything and tried to help everybody else. That's what it felt like. That's what it seemed like. And that may be the biggest testament to a group of people that you can make on planet Earth. When everything goes bad, when you've got your own problems at your house, whatever they may be, ranging from your lights are out all the way up till there's a tree on the den, and you're having to deal with that, but you still find the time, energy, emotion, and attention to give to somebody else who needs help too. That may be the biggest brag you can make about any human being, much less a group. And I saw case after case after case of exactly that 20 years ago after Katrina came through. There's not a big enough hat in the world to tip to the people of Mississippi and how they responded and how they dealt with that when Katrina came through. When we come back, Mike Chaney, State Insurance Commissioner and the State Fire Marshal. Got to find this man a third job, but, his job next is to talk a little bit about 20 years ago. When we return on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, keep it here.
I wonder if she's gonna stay. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home anytime she goes away.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune when I'm back on top in June.
Welcome back.
I said that's life.
Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes here, and joining us now, he is the State Insurance Commissioner. He is the State Fire Marshal. Talked to him many a times, always enjoy it. The one and only Mike Chaney, Commissioner. How you doing today?
Doing great, Richard. I'm down on the Gulf Coast for the leaf laying of remembrance of the victims from Katrina. So a lot has changed on the Gulf Coast since Katrina.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for just a minute, because you remember quite well what happened 20 years ago. There have been a lot of changes in a lot of different ways. As insurance commissioner, though, did Katrina bring about any changes to our approach to insurance? Because that was a massive insurance event in the state.
Well, Katrina brought side. We instituted building codes, which is something we should have done a long time ago, which means you build a stronger home. The second thing that we did was we enforced staying out of the floodplain, which is something we should have been doing anyway. So those are the two massive changes that happened. In addition to that, we started enforcing the flood elevations, and what you see today are homes that are built up along Highway 90, right facing the Gulf. And those homes are built to the new flood elevations that were established by FEMA in 2012. So we've seen a lot happen along those lines. The other thing that we've seen happen is that we stabilize the wind pool rates, and the wind pool is run by the state of Mississippi. It provides insurance to residents of the Gulf Coast as an insurer of last resort. And we've had rates basically level for the last 18 years, and that's about to stop. If we're going to keep rates low on the Gulf Coast, we've got to do something called mitigation. Mitigation is real simple. It just means that you put a stronger roof on a house, you tie it down to the walls and to the foundation so that after a hurricane, a consumer and policyholder and a citizen has a place to come back to. You don't ride a hurricane out in these homes. What you want is a home to come back to after a catastrophic event.
Do you think it's fair to say, with all of the changes you were talking about just then that were put into place after Katrina came through and we had to deal with the fallout from that storm passing by, do you think it's a fair statement to say that Katrina forced us to deal with some things we had just been kind of getting away with for a long time?
Well, Katrina forced us to look at enforcing building codes to stay out of harm's way. It just doesn't make sense to allow somebody to build at 5 feet above sea level. If you got a lot of money and you don't need insurance and you can get a building permit, that's your problem. But you got to remember that when you have a hurricane or any wind event, your home is subject to becoming a missile or almost destructive force for a home next door to you or a home behind you. So it makes sense for everybody along the Gulf Coast to have a stronger home. And by doing what we did with building codes, the new homes that were built are built stronger. They were able to survive a lot of things that had happened since Katrina. We've had Zeta that came through several years ago. Zeta could have been a $250 million storm. It ended up being only a $30 million event because we had homes with stronger roofs on them. So it's living proof that if you have strong homes, you build above the floodplain, you're probably going to survive a minor wind event or a catastrophic event. You won't survive a Cat 5, though, I would say that.
Well, Katrina was a very odd event because the storm surge alone was the biggest problem. You're talking about raising the homes and strengthening them and whatnot. That helps deal with that. But something like Katrina coming along again, I don't know if there's anything you could do really to prevent massive damage, is there?
Well, a lot of if you had another Katrina type event, and you've got to remember that Katrina was almost several hundred miles wide, whereas Camille, which happened in '69, and by the way, I was on the coast 2 days after Camille. I just back fresh from Vietnam, and Mary and I still had a home in New Orleans, and we had to look at it, and we came through the coast, and Camille had a very narrow eye, like 8 or 10 miles, so it was very concentrated, similar to what you might have with a tornado, whereas Katrina was very broad. It was like 90 to 100 miles wide, and that makes a lot of difference. You have a lot of storm surge when something like that happens. So we learned from Katrina that if you have a lot of storm surge, you got to build higher and stay out of the floodplain. It's pretty simple, and that's what we've done on the coast. We've enforced building codes. We have safer homes. And if you had another Cat 3 or Cat 4, you would have a lot less loss than what you would have had 20 years ago, simply because you have a stronger home and they're higher. It's real simple, you know. The American natives knew that you build out of a floodplain and you build a stronger home. We learned that in Sunday school. If you think about it, the wise man built his house on a rock, stayed out of the floodplain.
That's exactly right. But it's good that we learn from those, I'm not going to call them mistakes, even though that's the common phrase, but we learn the lessons that are taught to us by Mother Nature sometimes, because Mother Nature doesn't care what your opinion is.
That's correct, Richard. And the other thing that we learned lessons from Katrina is that you've got to build a stronger home. And the sad thing is Mississippi now is the only coastal state from Mexico and including an Atlantic state that does not have a mitigation program. The legislature just defunded in Mississippi, and you know, you can roll over and play dead when that happens, and you don't want them fight with the legislature, but I've chosen to fight it. You've got to have mitigation on the coast, because what happens on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi for rates on insurance affects everybody in DeSoto County, Lee County, Alcorn, Tishomingo. It affects everybody. And you've got to, if you're going to have rates low, you've got to have at least some semblance of building a stronger home on the Gulf Coast, or mitigating those homes that were still here to a new standard where they can withstand a catastrophic event. That's the only way you're going to get rates down.
Let's talk for just a minute. You mentioned that you're down on the coast for the wreath laying event. Tell us a little bit about what's happening down on the coast today on the 20th anniversary.
Well, last night we had what they call a halo jump of the Air National Guard and military arranging 4 jumps by paratroopers. And this morning at 8:25, Governor Reeves and several dignitaries are at Jones Park, which is right next to the Port of Gulfport, to lay a wreath in remembrance of the victims of Katrina. So there are a lot of festivities, but they're very solemn festivities that people understand the losses of Katrina. And we're down here really to listen to the citizens and see what their concerns are. And this is not a political event. This is an event about trying to make the coast stronger and keep it strong.
Well, and that's the thing. When you hear that, you know, you're there to listen to the concerns of the citizens, and you're thinking, well, this is the 20th anniversary. Can they have any concerns left? Well, yes, I think they can. Can't they?
Oh, definitely they have a lot of concerns left. And the major concern from the consumer point of view is that why did we kill the mitigation program? And I try to explain that if you got 1,000 people that are on the list to have their homes mitigated. And by the way, this is not tax money we're using. The money we use for mitigation comes from the insurance companies. We're making them belly up. They make money, and to make certain that policyholder has a home they can come back to. So it's a complicated issue, but it's really simple. You just build a stronger home, stay out of the floodplain, and we're not using tax dollars to mitigate these homes. The public needs to understand that. It's insurance dollars.
And that is important, and that's another big change that can be made. So, and this discussion proves that even though it is the 20th anniversary, we're 20 years past Katrina coming in, we are still adapting to the lessons that storm taught us.
The basic thing, and I've heard Governor Barber say this, I've heard Governor Bryan say it, and Governor Reeves say, we've got to learn lessons from Katrina. A good example would be that in Alabama has mitigated over 55,000 homes in Mobile and Baldwin County. Their insurance rates are 20 to 40% less than what we have in Mississippi. If you live in Jackson County, you work in the shipyard or work for Ingalls or Chevron, you might choose to live in Mobile County, which is 15 miles across the way, because insurance rates are cheaper, or live way north of the railroad tracks and I-10. So we do know that if you build a stronger home, you can help the economy on the Gulf Coast and across the state of Mississippi. It's just a no-brainer. Lessons learned simply says, stay out of harm's way, build a stronger home, and build it higher.
Mike Chaney, Mississippi Insurance Commissioner and the State Fire Marshal, we appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of stuff to get to, more events today, but we do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for representing the state the way you do.
Thank you, Richard. Always a pleasure to talk with you guys, and it's an enjoyable thing when you make a difference in the life of a policyholder and people on the Gulf Coast to make their home stronger.
When we come back, we've got Melody Golding joining us. It's a cool story, somebody you may not have heard about, a Mississippian, a Vicksburgian. Is that a word? It is now. We'll talk to her next on SuperTalk Mississippi Mornings. Keep it here.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings Hughes on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in, and joining me now, author, photographer, artist, probably bakes a mean pan of brownies, too, because she's multi-talented in all directions. Melody Golding. I only say that, Melody, because I love brownies. So, I got to go for the good stuff right up front. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today. And let's talk for just a minute. Are there any talents you don't have? You are so multi-talented and so good at all of it. Is there anything you stink at, just to make us all feel a little better about what we've accomplished?
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I can't play football.
Okay, there we go. We'll take that. Me either, but still, somehow it's oddly comforting. Now we've got you here, and to talk about your project, which has gotten national attention, about Hurricane Katrina on the 20th anniversary. But before we do that, you've got, I believe, 4 books published, right?
Yes.
What do you consider yourself primarily, a photographer or a writer?
I would probably consider myself a photographer and an artist first, and then the writing came along so I could explain my work.
That makes sense, because you do a phenomenal job. I've seen some of your work, and you were just so very, very good at it. But you also do things, how do I put this, that seem to matter, if that makes sense. All art matters to me, but yours carries a very definite weight and a very definite message to me, I think. Your Katrina project, Katrina, Mississippi Women Remember, great example of that. As a great job on that. Congratulations on that. Tell us a little bit about that project and how it came about.
Well, in the beginning, when we knew that Hurricane Katrina was going to come ashore, we knew that she was going to be a big one. I don't think everyone knew how big. I think people thought the hurricane was going to come ashore and they would evacuate and come back home the next day. And that was not the case at all. And, of course, Red Cross shelters opened up all over the state and all these small towns. And we started helping at the Red Cross shelter, bringing blankets and pillows and all kinds of things. And my sister-in-law had evacuated from Ocean Springs to our home. And after the storm, because I had been a volunteer at the Red Cross in a small way in Vicksburg, and I had told her that I would take her back home after the storm, I went to the Red Cross. I said, I'm going to the coast. What can I take? If I'm going, I want to take. And so I took all the seats out of my car. I packed it full of water, MREs, baby items, first aid items, Fix-A-Flat, an extra can of gas because I knew I couldn't get any down there. My sister-in-law, and at the last minute, I threw in my cameras. And these are film cameras. It's medium format film cameras. This is not digital. And I went to the coast, and when I got there, I could not believe what I saw. Everything was gone. It looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off. And at that point, all of that had happened in New Orleans, and most of the national focus was on New Orleans and not Mississippi. So I continued to go to the coast for a year. I went from August 2005 until August 2006, documenting the devastation and the recovery and the resilience of the people in Mississippi. And the University Press of Mississippi published my book, Katrina, Mississippi Women Remembers, and all of the royalties go back to the coast to help people who were impacted from the storm on the coast. And now it's at the 2 museums commemorating the 20th anniversary, and it's a huge honor to have my work at the 2 museums.
Well, and it's a well-earned, well-deserved honor for your work to be there. Let me ask you, you talk about when you went down there and it just kind of stunned you. I think it stunned everybody in the state, the amount of devastation that Katrina brought in. But aside from the sheer amount of devastation, is there anything that sticks out in your memory as something that just kind of caught you off guard?
I don't think anything prepares anyone for a hurricane in the aftermath like this did. But the courage and the indomitable strength and the spirit and the courage of the people of Mississippi stood out to me immediately. They were helping one another. They came together. if you needed something, they helped, and vice versa. And it's a human story. It's a testament to the universal themes of struggle, hope, and recovery. And the people in Mississippi found themselves in a national spotlight, even though it was overshadowed because of what was happening in New Orleans. But I think because of the way Mississippi responded, it has acted as a beacon unfortunately, for catastrophic events that happen. So with the indomitable strength and spirit and the courage of the people of Mississippi shone through to me time and time again.
And one of the outcomes, and speak on this because you've been keeping up with this, for 20 years now, because you were so intimately involved when the landfall actually happened. I also feel like we have developed an even stronger sense of empathy for other places that go through a catastrophic event because we've been there. We get it.
Yes, I agree. And it's the fact that we are such a loving and empathetic people in the state of Mississippi. We do reach out to other communities that have catastrophic events happen, whether it's tornadoes, floods, other hurricanes. Mississippi sets the bar high on how to recover from something like this.
And that is a positive. I think there's no other way to look at that. You mentioned that your event, your display, whatever you want to call it, is at the two Mississippi museums. How long is that there for? From March the 2nd until November the 7th.
So it's not too late. You can still go see it, and it's free. It's a free exhibit.
That's the point I was trying to drive at because, you mentioned that it's in honor of the 20th anniversary year of Katrina making landfall as part of the reason why it's there. And I didn't want people to think that today was it. They had to go today or they missed it. You've still got until November. You got a couple of months that you can still get by. And I highly recommend doing it. This is your reason, your impetus to go to the two museums, because if you haven't been, you need to go. You're missing out on something. And now you get to see Melody's thing as well. You've had other projects too that have created a scene. You've got displays. You've had displays in Washington. You've had them all over the country, haven't you?
I've been very honored that people want to showcase my work, and I appreciate that very much. It is a mountain of work, but I like to do it, and I do like to tell people stories. I know my editor at the University Press says I'm a folklorist, so he calls me a folklorist. Some people call me a photographer. I believe everyone has a story to tell if you just listen. Well, and it's a fun thing.
I have to agree with your editor because that's exactly what you're doing. You are basically building the historical stories of Mississippi. You're telling the history, but you're doing it in a way that also entertains. And if that's not a definition of folklore, I don't know what is. So that's exactly what you're doing, I think.
Well, I tend to be a positive person in spite of it all. So some of my books are very funny. Some are very serious, but some are funny.
Well, that's how you get people's attention and hold it, is with the humor sometimes. There are some situations and sometimes you don't joke, obviously, but you have to bring that lighter side because that is also a part of life. If all you focus on is the somber, serious stuff, you're missing a big part of the whole reason to get up in the mornings some days, right?
Absolutely.
How many times have you had someone look at you and go, "Get that camera out of my face"?
Well, I think I had mentioned before my sons. I have two sons, Austin and John Reed, and they always call me the camera ninja. People don't see me that much. I'm little, and I kind of work on the sidelines, and I'm just kind of invisible. I just kind of work. I try to respect people's space. Some people don't want their photograph taken. A lot of times I'll ask permission, but I'm pretty invisible as a photographer. I don't carry all kinds of stuff, and I'm not very obvious.
Are you still using film, or did you finally transition over to digital?
Oh, I love using film. My Katrina body of work is medium format film. And when I went to the coast to document Katrina, I had to keep my film in a cooler in my car. And a lot of times I had to, changing the film is very difficult because it's medium format, and sometimes my hands would be shaking from what I'd seen. I dropped some in the sand. But I do like to still work with film, although my cameras right now are in the museum on display in my exhibit, so I haven't been able to use them since they've been at the museum.
Melody Golding, can you stick around for a few minutes?
Sure.
Through the break? Fantastic. We'll continue talking with her and asking her questions she was not prepared to have to answer. Here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Shake it up.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
That don't mean any of this. Still my confession draws you near. Confuse the issue or refer. Familiar heroes.
Welcome back, Super Talk Mississippi Mornings on a messy Friday morning in some part of the state. Dave Hughes here. We have Melody Golding with us, and we got you in here because it is the anniversary week of Katrina, and you did that incredible project. I believe you got a letter commending you on it from President Bush, didn't you?
I did. He has one of my photographs that was hanging in the White House of two of the service members that work on the coast during Katrina aftermath.
That is fantastic. Now, when you started that project, when you're down there dropping film in the sand and going through all of this while you're delivering supplies, did you ever foresee even the possibility that you would wind up where you're at?
Oh, no, that was never my intention whatsoever. My thought was, I know I can do this. I know that if I'm going to the coast to deliver water, food, MREs, first aid supplies, baby things, that I can also photograph. And that my intention was just to document what happened. Because when I went, it was desolate. It was desolate. And you could see the helicopters going over. And I was just on the road alone most of the time.
Well, and the work that you did on that project, all of your other projects, I want to bring out something that I think a lot of people don't think about sometimes. When you look at the work of a talented photographer like yourself, even a writer, which you also are. You do everything. You're probably the hopscotch world championship holders. I don't know. You just seem to have nothing but an endless list of talents. But what I think people don't really think about with top of mind awareness is when you're a photographer, when you're an artist, you have one mission. You have one thing that you're trying to accomplish. You're telling stories. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the last segment. You're a storyteller, right?
Oh, absolutely. And with the photography, these days photography has just become an essential part of historical preservation. I mean, it preserves our history. So everyone with their cell phones and putting things on the internet, one day and 100 or 200 years from now, all of that's going to be historical preservation. But I believe that a photograph has a longer lasting impact on the thoughts of the observer. What you see visually just doesn't leave you. And I believe it's stronger sometimes than words.
Well, it makes a better impact. And especially it depends from person to person, because the other thing you have to remember is some people are visual learners. That's the only way they're really going to get it is to see it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just a fact. And you and your work lean into that strongly.
Oh, absolutely. And, photography captures events in a unique manner in which words just simply cannot. reading about an event, it's different than seeing it in a picture or witnessing it firsthand. And photography allows historical events to seem more real, and rather than just merely stories. So when they're together, it's exponential. They come together to tell a complete story.
Well, they work together. There's a lot of synergy between the words and the photos, I would think. I got to ask you, did you go borrow a camera? Do you have some kind of project going on right now? They've got your cameras over at the two museums, but are you working on anything at the moment?
Well, I just finished my 4th book. I'll be at the Mississippi Book Festival in September, hometown Mississippi. It's a chronicle of 30 towns in Mississippi, and it's visual, and it has quotes from people all across Mississippi on positive quotes on why they live in Mississippi. And so that's a project that I just wrapped up, and so I have forthcoming projects. I'm always staying busy.
The camera ninja never rests. When I hear that nickname that your boys gave you, I've got this image in my mind of you wearing a full ghillie suit and a mobile duck blind with just the limbs sticking out. That's the image that pops in my head. You might want to try that, actually. It might work.
Exactly. I don't like the duck hunt, though. It's too cold.
Thank you. I thought it was just me this whole time. You do incredible work, and it's very lucky for everyone, I think, that you decided to take your cameras that day 20 years ago when you were headed down to the coast to document all of this, because some things, most things need to be documented, but some things more than others, and you did a service. I know you created art, but you did a service for the people of Mississippi when you did that. So I don't know if anyone's told you, but thank you for that. That was a very good service you provided.
Well, thank you. I hope that this record of such a difficult time in the history of our state will serve a higher purpose to mold and shape the future of us, as well as those who follow along in years to come. Mississippi found itself in the crucible of history with this Hurricane Katrina, and I believe that we shined as a people and as a state.
Coming up next, we've got Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News. Melody, keep up the incredible work, and we appreciate you stopping by to talk.
With Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Found it down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound up, watch old bandit run. Old Smokey's got them ears on, he's hot on your trail, and he ain't gonna rest till you're in jail. So you got to dodge him, you got to duck him, you gotta keep that diesel trucking. Just put that hammer down and give it hell. Eastbound and down.
Welcome back, mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, hour number 3, the last hour brought to you by the folks at MWG Employer Services. You can go to MWGEmployerServices.com or call 601-206-7966 to find out how they can help you and your business today. It was great bumper music because I feel like our next guest just walks around humming that to himself a lot of days. The executive director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White, with us in the big chair there. How you doing this morning, Brad?
I'm great, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Love talking to you. Of course, we're talking a lot today about Hurricane Katrina for obvious reasons, 20th anniversary. I've yet to find anybody that doesn't have stories from 20 years ago, and I suspect you've probably got some too. Just give an overview 20 years ago, what your part in all that was.
Well, I had a small part. I was living in Simpson County, my hometown at the time, and was working with the Simpson County Economic Development Foundation. My stepfather was on the board of supervisors in Simpson County, so a lot of my involvement then was very local. I mean, as far north as Simpson County is in relative to the Gulf of Mexico, we still had a lot of damage and a lot of trees down and stuff like that. So I was helping getting the older member of our families to places where they'd be safe, and then basically riding around with my stepfather helping him, we loaded up chainsaws and, like everybody else, just started getting busy trying to open up roadways. But the Department of Transportation, however, was very involved, and it's always an opportunity to brag on our maintenance forces because they were the tip of the spear right after the storm. And Governor Haley Barbour, tells a story about he never shall forget. It was the MDOT forces that were at the front of the line with bulldozers and chainsaws and other equipment opening a lane of Highway 49 from Hattiesburg down to the coast, and behind them were National Guardsmen, Highway Patrol, and other first responders that were on their way to South Mississippi to deliver the help to the people that needed it. And, it seems like when weather's at its worst, that's when MDOT's at its best. And whether it's the hurricane responses, we've had ice storms in North Mississippi where we've had maintenance forces that couldn't drive to the maintenance barn but would get out and walk in order to get and walk for several miles in order to get to their respective offices and get on the equipment and get out and start doing the things necessary to help keep our highways and our bridges open as much as possible so the first responders and those delivering aid could get to the people that need it. So it was a shining moment, not just for the state of Mississippi, but especially for the Department of Transportation back in those times.
You started out talking about your involvement and about how you played a small part. There were no small parts when Katrina came in, because I don't care if it was just one, every single person that was helped by somebody else, that helper made an enormous difference in their life during that time. And I think sometimes we forget that. Everybody has a story, and every one of those stories is hugely important. Now, you might have the answer to a question I was asked actually last night by my wife, because we were talking about Katrina. We were talking about everything that happened, and I was showing her some pictures and showed her some pictures of, it left boats in the middle of the road when Katrina came through. How do you get a stack of boats out of the middle of the road?
Well, our public affairs division did a wonderful job in doing a documentary of sorts, about a 30-minute documentary on Katrina from the MDOT perspective. Governor Barbour is on it. We interviewed a lot of former employees that were working back then, and they tell some fascinating stories. And one is Melinda McGrath, former executive director that was an assistant chief engineer at the time of Katrina, tells about a barge that floated up onto, I believe it's Highway 90. It was on one of our highways, and they blew it up in order to remove it. But at the time that it got there, when they were contacting people saying, look, if y'all don't move it, we're going to destroy it, it was part of a casino. It still had the slot machines full of money on it. And so they had to get there and load up all the money and get the money out of the way. And then the Department of Transportation blew up the barge. So it was a fascinating time when you're looking back at some of the things and the stories that the people that were on the ground had. And I would encourage everybody. It's on the Department of Transportation's YouTube site, and we've promoted it on our social media. But it's a fascinating documentary that has a perspective of a lot of the MDOT employees that were involved in that recovery effort. And obviously it also has Governor Haley Barbour on it, who, Katrina was he and Miss Marsha's finest hour in many ways, just like the state of Mississippi. And we were blessed to have him at the helm when something like that happened. But I would encourage everybody to go find that documentary and watch it.
I'm going to ask you a very similar question to the one I asked Mike Chaney last hour. After Katrina, after the fallout, after everything was back up and mostly running, but from Katrina to now, has MDOT changed anything about the way they do things to be prepared for another event like this?
Well, I came back to the department just 4 years ago, so a lot of the lessons learned were already put into place by previous leadership. But since I've been there, when there are storms that come up in the Gulf, obviously there's preparations that are made from moving assets around to South Mississippi to have assets readily available whenever they're needed. As far as removing traffic signals and stuff like that could become projectiles that are flying through the air, getting those off the poles and off of lines and things like that are just common sense that I don't know that they learned that from Katrina, we have always done it. But our folks down in this is MDOT's District 6 and District 7, which are in South Mississippi, I mean, they've been through several storms, and they know how to get ready and how to best position all of our assets in a way that we can respond as quickly and as best as possible. And again, I just want to brag on our folks, because you think about it, they're leaving their homes, they're leaving their families in order to get out and serve the people of Mississippi. And I just can't say enough about how proud that all of our maintenance forces and construction forces make us in times like that.
You make a great point there, because every one of those first responders, every volunteer, everybody who was out there trying to help other people had family at home. They had people that they loved that they were concerned about as well, and tried to juggle both of those responsibilities at the same time. It's not easy. And I'm sorry, a lot of people would be, I'm not going to say justified, but would feel comfortable saying, hey, I didn't sign up for this. I got to look after my wife, my kids, but they do anyway. Well, and that goes further than just having a job.
That's right. And Governor Barber, has told a story. I don't know if it's on this documentary, but I've heard him tell before about those that were getting help getting out into South Mississippi, and they would come up on a family that had lost everything, and as they stopped to try to deliver help to them, this one particular family said, we're good, we can take care of ourselves, but there's a widow woman down the street that needs help. Could you please go to her? I mean, it was a time of great destruction and loss, but it was also a time that we were able to show the rest of the country what Mississippi is made of. And I believe that everybody liked what they saw. I think they genuinely saw the best that we have to offer, which is the love and compassion and the spirit of brotherly love and helping your neighbor that was so prevalent, throughout.
I'll throw one more word on that very good, very well-spoken pile of words you just gave us: selflessness.
Right.
Sometimes you got to put your fellow man ahead of yourself.
Right.
And a lot of people did that, and we still see that even now. It was just a few months ago we had major tornado activity all over the state. And your team at MDOT heavily involved in all of that when that kind of thing happens as well, right?
That's right. Absolutely. But look, I would be remiss if I didn't pause and say something about another major player during the aftermath of Katrina. Was my former boss, Senator Thad Cochran, who happened to be chairman of appropriations and had 40-something years of equity and personal relationships that he had built up, and being a person that was seen as someone that could work in a cooperative manner across the aisle and with others. And him holding the gavel of appropriations was key, because I believe he was the one that helped, along with the rest of our congressional delegation, to put the tools in the toolbox that allowed Governor Barber then to take them and do what was needed from an executive standpoint, and helping to rebuild and make sure that we recovered and came back stronger than before. And you had two individuals there with Senator Cochran and Governor Barber that had a deep admiration and long friendship between the two of them. And it was a pretty good team to have for Mississippi at that moment.
Those kind of situations, you're only as good as the team that's in place to help you, and that's always has to be something that's on everyone's mind, I think. Right. We're talking with Brad White, the executive director of MDOT. Can you stick around through the break?
Sure.
Yeah, well, find him a donut or something back in the break room, Lance. Let's keep him occupied and happy, and we'll continue with Brad right after this on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Venable. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in on Friday, as usual, and in the big chair there, the executive director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White. We're focusing today a lot of time on Katrina for very good reason, but business and life still goes on. What kind of projects you got working right now with MDOT around the state?
We're all over the state. I mean, we're getting ready to move forward on a capacity project in DeSoto County on I-55, Highway 7 in Lafayette County, south of Oxford. We've got a lot of work on Highway 15 in Tippah County, Union County, preparing for work in Pontotoc County, Highway 19 in Neshoba County, the Flowers Interchange, and I-20 over in Warren County. Commissioner Simmons and Congressman Thompson just cut the ribbon on a completed project in Greenville with the Greenville bypass that will help get truck traffic off of downtown and move more safely. As you move south, I mean, we've working on projects on I-59 in Forest County. We've got under construction projects on Highway 49 in Harrison County, I-10 in Hancock and Harrison County. I think that's I always get mixed up, 57 or 67 over in Jackson County, a hurricane evacuation Safe Roads project that we're widening and doing there, and then preparing on Highway 90 through Jackson County. So we've got work going all over the state of Mississippi, and those that I just mentioned are that's just the capacity projects that we have underway, and I'm sure I left some out. We have maintenance projects, paving, rehabilitation, and kind of the work that preserves the investment that the taxpayers have on the 33,000 miles of roads all over the state. We have projects like that going on in all 82 counties, bridge replacements and repair work all over the place. So
it seems to me, going around the state and looking at things, it almost feels like there's more work being done right now than we've seen in a while. At one time, It seems concentrated.
Well, it's true. Each year for the last 3 years, we have broken the previous record on the amount of awards the commission would let to contract and just work all over the state. And this past year, I mean, we topped, I think 3 years ago, $1 billion a year in new work that the commission awards and puts out around the state. So that's the reason for everybody seeing the orange barrels is the legislature has stepped up and along with the congressional delegation and helped us have the resources necessary to carry out our mission. And we've made sure that when we run about $1.5 billion a year of an annual budget, 97% of that goes directly in some form or fashion to a project around the state with one of the modes of transportation. And primarily, most of our investment is obviously with highways and bridges, but we're putting several $1 million into the other modes of aeronautics, ports and waterways, rail, public transit, and leveraging other federal dollars to bring back into the state to enhance those modes of transportation so that we are making sure that we're not just the old highway department, we are the Department of Transportation, and we look at our highway or our transportation system holistically. And our folks do a really good job, so we're very grateful. Everybody plays a part. It's a team sport. But our political leadership makes sure that we have the resources. We make sure to devote those resources where the taxpayers would expect them. And I get out of the way and let our professional staff do what they do best. And I think it's working for the state.
You mentioned the orange barrels, the orange and white striped barrels, and that brings a question to mind. As the amount of projects and the amount of mileage of roads and highways and the interstate inside the state of Mississippi that have some kind of work being done, do you ever come close to running out of barrels?
No. Well, our contractors have a lot of those. So a lot of that is not actually property of the Department of Transportation. It's the people that we've hired out, our partners in the private sector that provide that and do the work that the people are seeing out there. But, it's a funny thing. The bad thing about what we do is at best we're a nuisance or an aggravation because all the work that we do is right in the middle of where people are trying to drive and conduct their daily lives. So we greatly appreciate the patience that most Mississippians give us while we're trying to enhance our transportation system and make sure that our bridges are as strong as possible, that our pavement is being rehabilitated, and that our system is growing to be more efficient, carry traffic better. So, it's kind of funny watching that you have a short-term aggravation and inconvenience in while the work's being done, but it really pays out once the work's done. And I think Highway 49 through Rankin County is a perfect example of that. So we appreciate the patience that the people give us while we're trying to do that.
Well, I think you're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because if the road needs work, everyone's aggravated. If you're working to do that work on that road, everyone's aggravated. And when you get done, instead of getting the credit for, wow, this is nice now, it's, well, that's the way it's supposed to be, now keep it that way. It seems to me from the outside looking in, you guys can't win.
Well, by and large, everybody's very appreciative. Now, you get some keyboard cowboys on Facebook that like to, blow smoke, but most of the time their facts are not right, and it's kind of easy to let that stuff go in one ear and out the other. But people are normally down on what they're not up on. And so we try to do a good job through our public affairs and putting as much information out as we can, so that the people know what's going on and why certain things may be the way they are. And most of the time, whenever we're successful in informing the public gives us a break, and we're appreciative of that.
Sorry, let me finish writing that down, because I am stealing keyboard cowboys who like to blow smoke on Facebook. I'm using that. That is absolutely perfect, because it's true. And, there's frustration. You get that. It's understandable. But at the same time, let's take a moment to comment on one other thing. And that's the safety and the awareness that you need from the drivers out there when they're going through construction zones. Their blood pressure may be up a little bit. They may be having a bad day before they get to that construction zone. But you still have to exhibit some caution and some care for the safety of the workers who are just standing there 5 feet from where you're blowing past. You got to keep those things in mind, don't you?
Yeah, and Dave, it's sad. We've lost a lot of our MDOT family from motorists that weren't paying attention, texting or doing whatever, and come through a work zone and hit somebody. We've got other individuals that have been part of the MDOT team that have lost limbs. Luckily did not lose their life, but all from people that just weren't paying attention, that got aggravated or impatient and would speed through a work zone. So sometimes when you see workers out there, if somebody doesn't look like they're necessarily doing anything, we have a lot of folks that are just simply on lookout. And we've had a situation that comes to mind where one of our guys that were stationed in a place that his job was just kind of try to watch out for someone that wasn't driving the way they should, and be able to radio back to where the work's being done to warn them. And this happened one time, and one of our folks still got hit, but it saved his life by virtue of the employee being able to give him a heads up. So, yeah, work zone safety is a very important aspect of what we try to tell the public, because those people have families. I mean, those individuals are somebody's daddy or mother or daughter or sister or brother that are there. And we want to be sure that they get back home okay. And so it is a partnership that we need with the motoring public.
Seems like there's got to be an upper end. You talked about the last 2 or 3 years. You have broken the previous record for the number of miles and the amount of work being done, which was set the year before that. When does that top out, or does it? Because it's kind of an ongoing job, isn't it?
Well, we have a finite amount of money. The legislature obviously adjusted our funding model this past session. Next year we'll start seeing additional revenue that's recurring in fashion, so that our contractors and partners in the private sector can expect more work and be able to budget and plan for that. So we'll make sure that what resources we have, we get out. Our team's very successful in securing federal grants and earmarks that go beyond the federal money that's within our programmatic dollars that we spend. But it is a finite amount of money, and unfortunately the needs are going to probably always outweigh the resources we have to address them. But given the hand that we've got, I think our folks play it pretty well.
You're doing a good job, literally all over the state. You can't go 30 miles without running into some kind of work being done somewhere to make improvements or just to maintain what we have. And hats off to everybody that goes out there. And again, stands within 5 feet of 60-mile-an-hour traffic and just goes about their business, that's a different kind of person. If you're hiring, I'm not interested, Brad, for just that reason, basically.
We are hiring, and I think it's a good place to work, and that's primarily because what we do is tangible and is a standing legacy for the betterment of our state, and our people do a really good job.
That's exactly right. So get a hold of them. If you're looking for work, they're looking for workers. That sounds like a good match to me. Brad White, Executive Director of MDOT. Always enjoy having you on the air with me, sir. Keep up the good work, and we will talk again soon. See you, man. We will continue here on Mornings. Half an hour to go on this Friday morning. Keep it here.
You just can't seem to shake this hangover heart.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Now that I'm starting to learn, I feel I'm growing old, 'cause yesterday's got nothing for me. Pictures that I'll always see. Time just fades the pages in my book of memories.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Hopefully what Richard has for you right now is the gentle sounds of snoring. I would hope. It doesn't work that way, though. When you get up at that time every day, you just get up at that time every day, whether you want to or not, it seems like. But, you know,
magically.
Yes, it's beyond your control. Before we go to something else, just very quickly, little breaking news. The Trump administration has revoked Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail.
Yay.
That just came out. They announced that just a few minutes ago. So I'm not sure functionally what difference that makes in anyone's life. I just wanted to spread the news to you.
She won't have anybody to lean up against when she's got her wine on, you know.
Yes, exactly. And now we're going to have to put all of those Secret Service agents through PTSD counseling to get over the cackling.
And probably AA. If we're talking, Canada still.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that's the mother-in-law. You should have been here earlier. You'd get that joke.
That's not a moose. That's my mother-in-law.
If you had been here in the 6 o'clock hour with us, you would get that. Now,
I think I got this thing fixed. So if you
think we've got everything worked out.
It did it. It was the boss. So yeah, don't think I fixed anything. As I said, I tried to put a bent paper clip in a hole and then hold it for 20 seconds while I was juggling 4 oranges and. Trying to answer the phone. So yeah, that didn't work. So I had to get in touch with Will, and he said, "You just didn't push a button." So
you know I love you, Lance. You know I do. I have nothing but mad respect from you. But I never for 1 second entertained the idea that you were the one that fixed it.
Yeah, no, I can fix certain things, but yeah, not stuff here. So the geniuses are in charge of that.
Off the air, he was far too puzzled about what was going on for him to have been the one to figure it out.
You saw me flip it over 3 times, so yeah, you knew it wasn't me.
Earlier this week, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith showed up at the studio in Jackson, and she had in tow with her the United States Secretary of Agriculture for a big event that they went to. They stopped by the studio. SuperTalk News' J.T. Mitchell came in there and did a little interview. We want you to hear some of that right now.
Well, we are fortunate to have a couple guests today, one of whom has been with us a lot. That's U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And then also a first-time SuperTalk guest, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Welcome to Mississippi.
Oh, thank you. It's been such a great day so far. We're only about halfway through, but have gotten to meet so many. We're at Mississippi State this morning. Now we're at the Farm Bureau. A couple more things to go do, but it's been wonderful. Thank you.
And you brought some rain with you.
You're welcome.
The farmers are very excited about that.
Yes.
So y'all were in Starkville earlier. Big announcement I hear at the vet school. What was happening?
Well, we were, and we're here. First of all, I'll say whenever Cindy Hyde-Smith asked me to come, I will be there. So she and I talked about visiting this amazing state a few months ago and wanted to make sure it was a priority. But while I was here we have a real challenge, a significant problem with our number of veterinarians. And you can't have a thriving rural America and our farmers and ranchers certainly with the food animals without a really robust veterinarian. And it has been on the decline for a long, long time for a lot of reasons. So today, this morning at the incredible DVM school at Mississippi State, we announced a new program through USDA, some funding, some incentives, et cetera, some recruitment efforts to get more people excited, to make it more cost efficient, and to really help people find this path as their career.
Well, I think that's great because I think that being a vet is a hard but important job, but trying to get to vet school and then pay for it is difficult. So I assume a program like this will help students get there.
That's exactly right. And you know, the challenge is that vet school is 4 years. Cindy's amazing daughter, Anna Michael, is in her 4th year. It is not inexpensive. And people that become veterinarians don't do it to get rich, right? This is a real love of animals. And the pay doesn't necessarily trend with the time and cost of getting a veterinary degree. This was one of my dreams, was to be a veterinarian. I took a different path, but I can feel it. So it is a problem that not many people know about, but it is, like I mentioned, it's pretty significant. But with just some funding, some focus, some partnerships with the states, partnerships with some of our veterinary schools like the great Mississippi State with Dr. Frank and Dr. Keenum, the president there, I think we're going to see a real turnaround in the coming years.
Well, that's amazing work, and we cannot wait to track how the program goes. I assume it'll go well. Now, Senator, I hear you might have an announcement today as well. Is that right?
Do I have an announcement today?
I don't know. I got a press release from your team at 3 p.m. Can you tell me anything?
We're having a little event today, and we're going to kick off the campaign.
All right.
So that's a pretty important day. But we did have a great morning at Mississippi State, and we want the safest, most affordable food that we can possibly have. And the United States leads that, but it's a reason. We need healthy animals. Mm-hmm. And to have healthy animals and to prevent against outbreaks such as the high-path avian influenza, such as the screwworm that we've been talking about, the new world screwworm, that, we have to keep an eye on those things to keep healthy animals, to keep the food production going in the manner it needs to be going. And to have Secretary Brooke Rollins here today meant so much, to have that announcement that encouraging the increase of number of students to veterinarian school is really critical. So we were excited about that today, but I just don't think we could have a better Secretary of Agriculture. Honored to serve with her and to serve with President Trump. Great choice he made. And this afternoon, yes, we will be kicking off our campaign and ready to go at it.
Well, congrats. I remember you mentioned it with our old friend Paul Gallo, I guess last March. And you guys have seemingly been working coincidingly, both huge advocates for agriculture, especially through your 7 years. I believe that's right.
Correct.
In
Commissioner
D.C.
of Agriculture
and
7 years here.
You came in February, but did work with the first administration as well. How have both of y'all's lines of work come together to make it a better lifestyle for farmers, not only in this state, but the nation? I'll let whoever wants to take that go first.
Well, let me start, and I want to start because I want to talk a little bit about Senator Hyde-Smith. Politics is, it's a dark, it's divisive, and you don't often get servant leaders that put country before self, that are kind and smart and good and work every day to make the country better, while at the same time vigorously defending her people back in her state. And no one does that better than Cindy Hyde-Smith. I just can't say that enough. And when she and I campaigned together for President Trump in the bus tours last fall across Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and a couple of other states. And then, since I was announced, obviously, with her leadership on the Agriculture Committee, we have worked so closely together. But this is not an easy business, and you've got to have a very, very thick skin and a love for the country and a love for God that I think supersedes all of it, that allows you to do this work and to do it in an effective way. And so to get to work alongside Senator Hyde-Smith, to work to effectuate President Trump's vision, to return the power to the people, to preserve freedom and liberty, to bring the American dream back to every corner of the country is the greatest honor, but it isn't possible without senators like Cindy. And so I'm excited. She's announcing for her reelection today. I think that she is a game changer in Washington. I think it would be a tremendous loss to not just Mississippi, but to the entire America First movement if she isn't resoundingly returned, as she should be and as she deserves to be, to Washington. So we together, I think, make a great team, along with several of her other friends in the Senate and across the Hill. But this work is existential. The country is literally at a crossroads. I believe that we're in the third revolution. The first was in 1776, the second in the 1860s with Abraham Lincoln, and the third is today. We are fighting a battle amongst ourselves for the direction of America, and she's leading the way. So
I'll tell you what, I know we're coming up on the break here, so we're going to have to back out of that, but it was incredible, and we appreciate Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith bringing the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, to have just a few moments to talk to us. And of course, she was here. One of the reasons she was here was regarding the push to increase the number of veterinarians in the state of Mississippi, which kind of sounds a bit odd, but it's not. That's a very important thing, as you heard Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith talk about briefly there. We thank her so much. We thank Secretary Rollins for stopping by to visit with us while they were in Jackson, in the state. Big day, and it was an honor. We appreciate that. And by the way, JT did one heck of a job with that, didn't he?
He's pretty good at this stuff, isn't he?
With the interview, he did a great job with that. He really did. Final segment of the show for a Friday morning. A momentous Friday morning, the 20th anniversary of Katrina. We will wrap it up right after this on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I studied in cartoons, radio, music, TV, movies, magazine.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Parched land, no desert sand, the sun is just a dot, and a little bit of water goes a long way, 'cause it's hot. Three good buddies were laughing and smoking in the back of a rented Ford. They couldn't know they weren't going far.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Mornings. Dave Hughes here. One thing we haven't mentioned much this morning, which is unusual, but it's an unusual day. It's the 20th anniversary of Katrina coming ashore. Otherwise, normally we would have been all over the fact that we're headed into the Labor Day weekend. Monday is Labor Day. We'll have best ofs all day, with the exception of sports talk, because, football, we're just getting started, so it worked out that way. Everything else will be a best of show on Monday in observance of the Labor Day holiday. But that also brings up something I want to make sure that we give at least a moment to, Lance. This weekend, a lot of people going to be out on the road, going to games, going on trips, whatever. You know who else there's going to be a lot of out on the road?
Police.
The guys with the bar lights and the badges, and most importantly, the ticket books. They are going to be having their usual holiday period stepped up enforcement. They're going to have more people on the road than is usual. They're going to be running roadblocks. They're going to be doing all these things. And it brought to my mind, so I want you to be aware of that, because hopefully it will serve a little bit as a deterrent and keep you from doing quite as stupid a thing as you would normally do when you're driving. I see you. I'm on the road with you. I know what you're doing. But there is one thing that really ticks me off that I'm getting tired of. I don't know if you've seen this, Lance. People on Facebook, on other social media, they will get in groups or they'll just do it themselves. They see a roadblock and they post it to let everybody know where it is. Ooh. So what you're telling me is you want to make sure the drunks get to keep driving on the road with the families in the cars. That's your idea of a good move to make. You're a moron if you think that's a good idea. Am I soft pedaling it?
No, I know.
Okay.
Hey, folks, it's a busy weekend. Don't throw garbage out, please. I mean,
yes.
That's the one thing I keep noticing. We're better than this. They just mowed the whole side of the spillway a couple of days ago. I come through there yesterday. There's garbage everywhere. Folks, come on, man. Tie it down. Put it in the garbage can. Do something. You're better than that. We're all better than that. Keep the state beautiful. Be a lot of folks on the roads this weekend, and be safe, too. But don't be littering, and wear your seatbelts.
And put your phone down.
Put your phone down. Get out of the left lane.
We always tell you, just do it.
Get out of the left lane. All that good stuff. Yeah.
You talk about beautifying the state. They're doing it in several spots around the state, but they've been working on I-55 down here in southwest Mississippi in some spots and clearing out the underbrush and clearing out the bushes and the tree, and it looks really nice.
Oh, yeah.
It looks great.
Cleaning it up all over. Now, I will say this. I didn't want to mess with Brad on air because I would have been funny, but I go to Vicksburg a good bit on and off. I had been over there in a few months. Went over there this past weekend, skating over there, and always you have the I-20, the bridge there at like Flowers, Edwards, Bolton. And I mean, they're doing a lot of work. I wanted to text him the other day. I said, did y'all find like, dinosaur bones in here or something? I mean, do we have to call in like the Smithsonian? They've been working on that. I know it must have been a mess. There's like 3 bridges, boom, 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 right there that they've been trying to fix. But yeah, I was like, man, there's dinosaur bones in here or something. There has to be, But yeah, they're doing a lot of work. I mean, the state is on top of road work. Highway 49 South is much better. I think you could have built it 14 lanes wide, and it probably still would have been trafficy. But the work being done to make the roadways better, safer, better lit is phenomenal. Thank you guys for doing that.
Well, and that does bring that ties right back into what I started talking about there. With the amount of construction going on, you heard that list that Brad gave us earlier this hour when we were talking about all the work being done around the state. It's everywhere. It's every part of the state. You've got areas with construction going on, repair, maintenance, whatever. That makes it even more important to drive safely, drive carefully, and pay attention to what you're doing. You couple that with a busy weekend with enhanced enforcement. There's a lot of people going to have increased car insurance rates pretty quick after this weekend if they don't pay attention to what they're doing. Follow the speed limits. The speed limit is slower in a maintenance zone. Remember that. You don't keep barreling at 75 or whatever you think the speed limit is, because I've noticed some people don't seem to actually know what the speed limit is.
Well, I mean, granted, we did have
carefully.
A lot of folks here that probably didn't speak English or know what 7 was, or so maybe we don't have to worry about that. But if you're drinking, folks, look, it's call Uber or whoever. Do not get in the car and risk that for you or anyone else on the roadways. Let's make this weekend all the way through the Labor Day a safer weekend than we've ever had. Let's do that.
Always keep in the front of your mind Dave's one rule of defensive driving. Don't be stupid.
Don't be a stupido.
If everybody follows that, we'll be in business. Hope you have a wonderful, safe, happy Labor Day weekend. Enjoy yourself, and we will do this again next week. Lance, enjoyed it as always, buddy.
Yes, sir. Have a great weekend.
You too. And also, stay dry and go insert favorite team here. You got to cover them all, right?
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.